So with Brent Venables making the move for Michael Hawkins to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, I think we're starting to see him kind of take this seriously. And what I mean by this is he's putting the best players out on the field, the guys that give you the best chance to win. And with Michael Hawkins actually starting to play for Oklahoma, if you guys listened to me and Jay talk about that yesterday, Jay talked about a youth movement for Oklahoma and how that's something that Oklahoma fans should expect. But we're already starting to see Brent Venables play a lot of these young guys, and we're seeing a lot of really good stuff out of them. Now, the kicker is Oklahoma is shifting their strategy specifically on one player, moving him from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball. And Oklahoma fans, you guys need to understand the impact that this is going to make, because this could help Michael Hawkins have better weapons on the outside and potentially fill a void and a hole that Nick Anderson is going to leave, because at this point, I'm not expecting Nick Anderson or Andrell Anthony to return to playing time for Oklahoma this season. So before we jump into it, before we talk about it, make sure you guys jump in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button. We want you to be a part of it. But the big news, of course, has been Michael Hawkins. And I think it's overshadowing probably an even bigger move than putting Michael Hawkins as your starting quarterback. And you might say, well, Preston, what do you mean? Like, Michael Hawkins, a true freshman, supplanting Jackson Arnold as the starting quarterback is pretty big. Well, you've heard a lot of rumblings and a lot of talk of Jacoby Johnson moving from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball. And this is key here, because when Jacoby Johnson came out of high school, he was the number 2 player in the state of Oklahoma. He was considered one of the best athletes in the country, number 117th player overall in the country. I mean, he had a total of 17 offers, but it was from the likes of Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, Nebraska, TCU, Tennessee, right? So he had offers from big-time Power 4 schools, SEC schools, if that. So you knew Jacoby Johnson was a guy that not only were schools recruiting him for the defensive side of the ball, but there were a lot of schools recruiting him to play wide receiver. So he's a 6'2", 6'3" wide receiver. I think he's probably more leaning to the 6'3" side, about 200 pounds. Like, Jacoby Johnson is a guy that he's going to bring in that length and that athletic ability that you need on the wide receiver position to helpfully open it up a little bit more. And if what we saw from Jaquez Petaway is anything that I think we're going to expect to continue to see over the next coming weeks with him and Michael Hawkins, Jacoby Johnson is going to help make that hopefully open up a lot better. And here's what I mean by this. Michael Hawkins threw to guys like Jaquez Petaway or a Zion Ragens or a Zion Kearney or an Ivan Carrion throughout the fall and the offseason. These are the guys that he threw to. So you would imagine, unlike Jackson Arnold, there is going to be a better connection between those wide receivers and Hawkins, right? Now, Brennan Thompson, when Jalil Farouk comes back, we'll have to see, are they able to develop a quick chemistry with Hawkins? Is J.J. Hester going to be able to get it going? But from what I'm starting to see, I would imagine Jacoby Johnson is going to work his way into a wide receiver role, probably play some significant snaps for Oklahoma. Deion Burks is obviously going to be the number 1 option for Michael Hawkins. And then you're going to have Jaquez Petaway right there at 1B. And then who goes out there for, getting in the slot, getting on the outside as well? Like, do you see a lot more Ivan Carrion and Zion Kearney, 2 guys that bring you even more size? That's something that, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're going to see that youth movement on the offensive side of the ball. But those aren't the only guys that I think we're going to see that are young actually play. I mean, a lot of people are calling for Eddie Pierre-Louis on the offensive line. The left guard position has kind of been the toss-up this year. A lot of people are not happy with the play that you have there, whether it's Benito Zaida or Jacob Sexton. A lot of people want Sexton to play outside at the tackle position. Eddie Pierre-Louis was a guy that only got 9 total snaps against Temple, but had a passive blocking grade of 74.4 and a run block grade of 66.3. And again, it's an extremely small sample size, but we also know about Eddie Pierre-Louis' size and ability. If that's a guy that continues to develop well and they can integrate him into the offensive line at some point, that might be a guy that you see play and play some significant snaps. Remember, it's not uncommon for Bill Bedenbaugh to put out true freshmen in that starting offensive line. We saw it last year with Caden Green, and it worked really well. It could work with Eddie Pierre-Louis as well. Now, the only other thing about the offensive line that I would say is I'm not sure we see a whole lot of shakeup outside of that left guard position. If you have a chance to keep it pretty consistent with Hickman as your center, Waywu as your right guard, Tarquin as your right tackle, and Sexton at your left tackle, I think you want to leave them there, have some consistently, and kind of get that chemistry going. The left guard position, if Ozida can't keep that role, if he can't keep that position, maybe it's up for grabs. You've also got Troy Everett, who's potentially back as well. So this is going to be interesting to see how they utilize some of these true freshmen in the offensive line, even as tubies, right? Are they going to be in the backups? Because you've got guys like Isaiah Autry back there. You've got guys like, who's the kid? Eugene Brooks, right? There's a lot of young dudes that I think a lot of Oklahoma fans would like to see on this offensive line. So keep your eye out on that. But lastly, on the defensive side of the ball, so you lose Kendall Dolby. So Samuel Omasigo, he's going to move into the cheetah position. I think you're going to see a lot more of Eli Bowen, right? Because Eli Bowen, I think, can play in a lot of positions for you. Peyton Bowen might try to run down into some safety. Peyton Bowen's been a guy that played really well. Guys, in Tennessee, he played on the right side of the corner. He had an 80.3 grade against Tennessee and played in 12 snaps. Like, not like he played in 1 or 2. He had an 80.3 grade. Rush defense, 64.7. He had a 76.6 tackling grade. He had a coverage grade of 78.9. That's something that I feel like you could build off of with Eli Bowen, because you go compare this to Woody Washington's grades, a better coverage grade than Woody Washington. So, but he's also 5'9", so you're not really gaining size there. So, but we're going to see more Eli Bowen. Eli Bowen has been a guy that's been a dog, and you can see it in the snap counts and in his grades. The other one that I thought was really interesting, and somebody that, again, you saw out there in a significant, meaningful time, was Jaden Hardy. Now, Jaden Hardy only had 2 snaps. I think he's played a little bit on special teams, but 68 grade on defense, 77 on tackling, a 62 coverage. Against Temple, he had a 64% coverage grade. So in the safety room, it's probably going to be a little bit harder for Hardy to see significant time, because you've got Robert Spears-Jennings, who's been one of the best safeties in the country. Guys, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Robert Spears-Jennings, 87.7 coverage grade, 81 tackle grade, 81.1 in the rush grade, 87.0 overall in the defensive grade. Robert Spears-Jennings, if he gets, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 interceptions this year, a couple touchdowns, this is a guy we're talking about is potential, not only a Paycom Jim Thorpe Award winner, but with his height and his size, potentially a first-round safety. So keep your eyes on that. Robert Spears-Jennings playing out of his mind, but Jaden Hardy's a guy. He's a young one that we have to watch in that safety room, and it's somebody that Brandon Hall is not afraid to put out there. Brandon Hall is not afraid to put him out there, get him tested, and put him out there with the best of the best talent. So, again, the youth movement's coming. You're seeing Oklahoma shift their strategy, moving Jacoby Johnson from corner to wide receiver. That means Oklahoma feels confident in that cornerback room. And Jacoby Johnson, when he played in high school, he had a total of 39 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 4 pass breakups in his senior season. He also had 1,200 all-purpose yards and 19 touchdowns as a receiver and return specialist. So Jacoby Johnson is a guy that he can do it on the offensive side of the ball, and if you move him there, I think you feel confident about what you have. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you agree with Brent Venables' decision to move Jacoby Johnson from cornerback to wide receiver, and then also giving Michael Hawkins the starting quarterback job? If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.